whoever needs to hear this tonight, take advantage of this moment, all right? Because I see you, all of you. You've been scrolling past screenshot after screenshot. You've been here, you've been dedicated towards learning trading. A lot of you have made this progress all this time. And while you're sitting there, I want to make sure that though that trickiness shows up and the hesitancy and the fear and how you're engaging with the market, I know it makes you tired, it makes you exhausted, even when you're up, when you're trying to figure out what are the best decisions to make about all this green you're seeing, or you're still trying to figure out how to handle all this red. We're just going to pause for a moment. I'm going to tell you what nobody else on all these types of calls is going to tell you, all right? Overall, let's get down to the grittiness, and we're just going to jump out the gate. Trading, even with all the strategies that we've learned, it's about 20%. Strategy is only 20% of all of what we're doing with trading. And it's not about how much you have. It's about it's not about how often you stare at the chart. It all comes down to the decisions that you are making, okay? And how efficient those decisions are when it actually matters, when the time comes for you to make that important decision. And so that's it. That's the whole thing. If you've seen me, if you've seen other traders, any of your favorite traders that you follow, all the discords you may have been part of, the profitable traders, all of them I've met, they would admit that a lot of those changes happened at that turn of the refinement of their decision making. And so once we had to fix our decision making and remove the guesswork, that's when you start to see actual progress. And it wasn't the setup. I'm going to be talking today about the LVL. I'm going to be talking a little bit about support and resistance, ICT, some of these strategies, but it's not the setup that's ever saved anyone. It's the decisions that do. All right. And so if you're tired of pretending that just learning more and more and more about this information, all right, and that's going to change anything, give me the next hour to just talk to you, really understand what's going on. And I'm going to teach you the framework that I've taught to quite a few of my mentees, 20 of them who are now producing $10,000 per month consistently or even more. This is the same framework that, as of this recording very recently, every single trading day has been 12K. 12 is the magic number somehow. I don't know. But most recently, 12K this past Friday. On this past Monday, 12K on CVS. And then another on silver just most recently. And then even today, we had some opportunities for how we were able to get involved with this crypto information that's going on recently. All right. And so that is what I want to teach you. By the end of tonight, you're going to walk away with 3 things. All right. I want to make sure that you are well equipped, that you understand that where you are in your consistency, it's not about what you know. It's about how you decide on those things. All right. So what's going to happen is, first, I want to make and identify a proper name for any gaps that you may have been experiencing in your trading, what's actually breaking, because we've all experienced our system having a gap, or that it's breaking or eroding over time. All right. Then next, I'm going to tell you about how we will shift in the perspective for what we're doing, what the framework is, and how we're walking through this all live. All right. I'm going to do some live walkthroughs on real options contracts and how we can change our perspective on options trading such that we can get very personal with our charts and know exactly how much money we can make from any trade before we even get it. And then I'm going to create that next step for you, as well as provide some very great resources so that you can dive deeper into what we're covering today and how we're going to make some next steps in terms of progress for our trading journey. All right. And so if you've heard all of that, type "I'm in the chat if you're ready. Let me see it in the chat. Put "I'm in the chat. because we're about to dive deep into this. We're going to have quite a few examples. And I really want to I want to show you how this comes full circle in terms of all of our performance when we go through this and how we navigate on any given trading day. All right. So let me know if you're ready. All right. All right. Let's go, guys. Let's go. And so one of the biggest things, there's just one belief that needs to shift. All right. The major one that we're shifting is that better trades come from better information. That's what a lot of us are led to believe, led to feel, such that why we keep acquiring and gaining more information, what's going on there, for how we're navigating through that, and thinking that's going to be the major change that is going to actually save us. And as if we adjust our strategy, if we go somewhere else with our trades and we adopt more and more information, that we're just going to become better. And I know, especially a lot of us, especially those who've been studious, and also those who are so great, so skillful in their careers, that a lot of times our performance and how much we gained in knowledge and how we apply that has often led to us to higher degrees of getting further in our careers, or getting further in terms of our academics, or any type of components that we're looking to, progress. But when it comes to trading, there's a specific area about trading that just absolutely needs to be shifted. And better information is just not going to make that change that we're all looking for to develop. What we're really looking to see is that better trades come from pre-made enhanced decisions. All right. It's all about decisions. And that's how we're going to cover this specifically on options optimization during today's session. All right. And so one thing here, if a little bit of background on me. If you don't know, but a lot of you know, have been familiar with me. Taylor Hamilton. I've started trading since 2020. It's actually officially 6 years. Since then, during 2020, the world stopped, right? We know what happened in 2020. I was driving from New York to Princeton every single day just to fulfill my 9-to-5 duties and get some skills such that my LinkedIn profile can actually look worth something. And I was finding worth in the skills and how much experience I can get from whatever corporate ladder that I was trying to endure on. And so my very first job outside of that, I had to develop that experience and really put in the work in terms of how much I was committing towards going to that job. Once the world stopped, I had time. And I had just a little bit of money from my job to be able to put there in the market. But what I also had was the same belief as most of you that you walked in here with, or that you started your trading journey with. If I learn enough, the money will follow. Within my first trade, I learned enough just to make that first trade, right? To play puts when the whole world stopped and no one can travel, right? And so what I did, I learned, I watched the videos, bought my first course. I sat in Discord until 2 a.m. trying to figure out what everyone else was doing and what everyone else was seeing. And I was able to gain in the first round, but then I lost money, right? And it's not catastrophic. It doesn't always start as catastrophic. It's typically slow. And that's why I call the apex moment. The apex moment is that turning point. And it sounds great because you're at the top, but typically at that turning point when everything's going good and you've learned so much information to get into that point, but that starts to deteriorate. And then one small loss becomes another small loss and another small loss. And we think that more information, that there's something missing. I need more information to be able to gain that and actually recover from there. And then that throws off what our decision making is, because we had a decision framework that got us to a certain point, right? Press 1 if you've been in that situation. Press 2 if you're there right now. Because here's what nobody told me. I wasn't losing because I didn't know enough. I knew plenty, right? I could explain order flow. I could, go through support and resistance. I could say what the Greeks were in the options, right? I knew what I needed to know, right? But with the money on with the money on the line, right? My heart rate would spike up. I'd see, it's like blurry vision. I don't know if you've ever experienced blurry vision. Maybe that's why I have my glasses on today. But it's when you get so frustrated and it just feels as though there's all of this noise. You're just navigating the market. And that's where that is that's the last thing I see in my head about that last losing trade. And that thought about that last losing trade can go on for hours and then it's days. And then I'm sitting here, it's been 3 weeks ago since that loss. And I'm thinking like, man, I should have done something different there, right? Like, what if I did that? I wouldn't be where I am right now. And so that's not a strategy problem overall. That's a decision-making problem. And also an internal problem for how to process from that, right? And so what I figured out, and this is what we're putting a name here, all right? I want you to sit with this for a second. It's the decisions. Again, it's the decisions that are what make money. It's not just the strategy. And so some of you may have heard of it, others, this might be the first time, but the name for what has been breaking is discretionary decay, right? And so what discretionary decay is, just give it this for example. You have a finite disciplined battery every week. I know a lot of you have said to yourself like, oh, I just need to get more organized, or I just need to look at more charts. When you look at more charts and you're real prepared and you're motivated, you have that information when you prepare, but then every single time it comes to making decisions in those important moments, that's when having a defined decision, it starts to erode, it starts to diminish, it starts to decay. And especially during market hours, with every decision, because every single one seems like it's equal importance and you have to process it in real time. Where do I enter? Where do I exit? How big is my size? Do I move my stock? Do I take the trade or skip it, right? Every single one of those questions, if you haven't pre-decided it, it's draining the battery. So by Thursday, you're running on 12% and you're wondering why you took that revenge trade, right? You're seeing all of these charts and different tickers, and you're scrolling in different communities or on social media, and you're thinking about what you missed out on and why you didn't make certain decisions. And you're forgetful, or it feels as though you were watching something and you just missed it. You were looking at something else, distracted, and now you came back to it and it's like, oh man, like, where was I supposed to fit in? If I had gotten in, I would have been good. But how do I best organize those decisions such that I can actually retain that power and be in balance with myself still for how I want to proceed with my trading journey? Right? Can I get a here? Because this is why I want you to, all right? Because it matters for the full rest of this call. I hope you guys feel free to take a screenshot here of this slide and just how that discretionary decay erodes over time, right? What I want you to hear is that real change in your trading, it doesn't just happen in a week. It doesn't just take a year. It can take 30 days, 30 days of intentional and dedicated experimentation with one framework, a decision framework, right? Proper risk and honest tracking of those trades. Anybody who's been a mentee of mine, if you're a student in the chat, put S. I want to see where you guys are. If you're a beginner, if you're still starting out with trading, you've only been in this for about a month or two, press B in the chat. I want to see where you guys are. If you're trying to figure it out, put O, because of course I'm trying to do more with my trading. I just want to see who I have in the building. If you haven't represented your city and your state yet, also put that in the chat. Thanks, guys. And so a lot of people with S, if you've been under me, you'll hear that I've said that when it comes to trading, that data is absolute gold. Data is gold. That is what you need, right? Because without data, you're not able to make better decisions. You might have had a winning trade or winning week last week, and you may not even know why. What was it about those pieces? Did it just come together? Did you just get lucky? I don't really know if anybody here is a great trader. Not necessarily because I need proof or you need to prove something to me. It's more so about how you prove to yourself and understand why something in your actions is actually working and what the context of that to actually ascribe real value to say, I did this. And that was because of how I followed this process. Without that, maybe the market is just really good. Recently, the market's been pretty good, right? But how do we know it's actually clicking and identifying, right? And so that's what I want you guys to know. What's typically those first 30 days, that's what we call a seed phase, all right? And that's when we go towards firmly understanding where you are in your trading journey, what strategies you're using, what your schedule is, and how we can experiment with low risk to understand where are those bottlenecks actually currently present, all right? And that's what is the foundation for actually improving in trading. Typically, it takes an average of 90 days with intentional movement, but we'll come back to that once we understand that framework, and because that becomes the foundation for actually optimizing our trading overall. And so now, a quick question. When you take a trade, how do you know it's a good one? Right? How do you know? What does it look like? Feel free to even comment in chat, right? Slightly rhetorical. I'm curious on what to know. How do you know what's a good trade? Right? And so most of you, you're looking at a chart and you see a pattern, bull flag or breakout, reversal candle. And it's something that looks like every other great setup that you've seen on YouTube or, Twitter for the past couple of years. And, you think this looks clean, I'll take it. But that's not really just a quality trade, right? Just because of how it looks. It's simply a familiar looking chart, right? This is what every profitable options trader will tell you what an actual quality trade is, all right? A quality trade is one where the reward measured from entry to your pre-mapped exit is significantly larger than the loss measured from your entry to your preset risk level. And this is the kicker. That is decided before you click buy. All right? It's not figured out along the way like, okay, I get my entry and I'm going to see what happens. It sounds crazy when I say it out loud. But I mean, that's what a lot of us do and what happens. And notice what's not in this definition. The pattern, the candle, the indicator color, right? The person who called the setup that wasn't you. None of this matters until you can answer two questions, right? One, if I'm wrong, where will I know I'm wrong? And how much will I lose? Number two, if I'm right, will I get out, and how much will I make? And so if that second number isn't significantly bigger than the first, that trade shouldn't even exist, right? And so this is, let me zoom in just a bit here. This is the same chart, right? It's the same opportunity. It's just a line chart in this case, right? But it gets the point across. There's different outcomes, and it's not because of skill or how much someone knows. It's because the decisions are made before the trade. Most traders, they take this, this setup, and they see the stock going up, right? And they enter at the market open, but they don't know where their stop is. They have no idea where the target is, and they figure it out as it goes along, right? Where in the second area, having a clear area for your risk to reward, knowing and specifically what that risk is and how much reward can be made out of that by actually charting the options contract directly, which is something I'm so excited to get into today. All right. And so here's your test for the next week. Just before you click buy, write down 3 numbers: where you'll be wrong, where you'll exit if you're right, and the ratio of your risk to reward. If you don't know how to do any of those things, stick around. We're going to give you exactly that resource so that you know how to do exactly that. All right. And so that is what you have to do and what you should do, because this is what I'm giving. And so what I'm putting up here so that you have it, I'm dropping this into the chat. All right. It's going to take a moment to load. I'm dropping this in the chat. This is the decision framework. This is the document decision framework, such that you understand those and have answers for those 3 questions about where you'll be wrong, where you'll exit if you're right, and the ratio between them. What's also included there is a place for how to establish your checklist. And if you are at any point in confusion about how you should approach every given trade, that you revisit this and think about your decisions and such that you can enhance what you know and predetermine as the outcome. Because how professional traders trade is they put boundaries on their trades, and they come prepared not just with a watch list, not just with stocks that they're watching, but the actual decision framework once it comes time to apply it in a real trade outcome. All right. Let me know if you're able to download that. I put it there in it's currently sharing. All right. Hopefully it's not covering too much of the screen. And also we're going to follow up if you can't download it right now, but that is yours. This is a full-on document I built out. I want to make sure that you guys are able to go ahead and use it in your next trading session. All right. If you guys have any questions about any of this, I'm going to provide you guys also contact information just that you can continue this go around with me. All right. Good to go. Put a thumbs up, press 1, and then we'll move on here. All right. And so a lot of people, so now we're going to get into the meat and bones of this presentation. I'm going to do some real examples. And so a lot of people have heard about the LVL. And the LVL, I want to clarify a few things. Sure, it's a strategy. Sure, a lot of things you may have seen. It's an indicator. I'm going to just go over this and make sure that you understand about how we make these decisions and how we can assess and mark our charts before the market even opens, and then how we apply this in real time as we're trading in a real trading day. All right. And we're going to go deeper as it pertains to options optimization and how that showed up. And I would love to go over real examples on the chart, and I have a couple of things lined up. So stick with me through this. This is going to be something that can change the outcome of your trading overall. And so LVL, we have liquidity, right? And liquidity is a place, and that's what we're first looking at on a chart. And that is not about where to enter. First, I'm not even looking about where to enter. It's where the market is going to prove me wrong. All right. This is a place on the chart because a lot of us come from the place of support and resistance and taking those breaks, right? But I want to use, rather than support resistance lines and they just places on the chart, we use liquidity to say, where are majority of traders going to be wrong, right? Or how they're going to get captured. Because liquidity is a place where we look at previous lows and highs. And that's typically the reversal places, right? And so I place those specifically on the chart. And that is where that if there's no reversal when hitting previous lows or previous highs, I'm not looking at it right now. I'm focused on where the reversal is going to happen first, such that I'm not going to be the one that gets reversed on and fish food for these whales, the market makers and the hedge funds in the market, right? And so when I'm marking up a chart, and let me see if I could write this and give an example. So when I'm marking up a chart, say we have some candles like this, a couple candles coming down as well. We have some lows. We have some upside as well. So on and so forth. And so what I'm looking for at any given moment is that these levels from highs, lows, and more, we are looking for places where this is trading and hitting. And if we're trading through that level with confidence, most of the time, I'm not even considering a main trade, especially during the market open. All right. I'm waiting for that reversal first because the decision I ascribe there is that that is the place that a lot of traders are going to get caught. Right. And that is why I pre-prepare every Sunday, marking highs and lows on the daily time frame. And a lot of people want to know specifically the daily time frame, what time frame is being used. And those are the major levels typically on the chart. And we drop it down to the hourly as well. But I'm just giving a proper framework for exactly where most traders are going to be wrong. Because my decision and how it shapes up comes from the next part. Because now it's not about the trades that I'm looking for and whatever. Then it comes from a place of what am I considering and how do I know that this trade is worth taking? And so once I know where it's wrong, if I'm trying to chase a trade as it's moving, whatever, I need to confirm if the trade is worth taking. All right. And so I need to know, is the structure of the market, are we making higher highs, higher lows after we're hitting a previous low? And what I'm saying is, after we bounce, is this forming a trend such that now I can take action to understand where am I getting it? All right. Is there volume involved? Is this in real reversal? And so that helps me with my decision because it means, am I trading with trend or am I trading against it? And so if that is not established, I'm going to skip over the trade. Even if the chart looks beautiful, even if it looks like it's going to move so much. But so many of the trade ideas, they get done right then and there. You can have a reversal and then bounce, but if there's no validation of that trade, I'm going to skip it over. That's a major decision of validating the trade. Again, we're going to do this on a real chart. And then the last decisions is when we're determining targets. Now that I know these two components, the reversals, where I know where I'm wrong, where I know the trend is validated to sense this trade is worth it and I can find my entry, the last decision is where am I getting out if market produces in my favor? And where am I getting out at a risk level? And is that now that distance between where the market moves in my favor, or if it doesn't, the one that's in my favor has to be greater and bigger than that loss potential, right? And so if we're having a reversal, I'm looking at getting to the other side. All right. So what I was saying is that you have to understand these three decisions, all right? Where you're wrong, is the trade worth taking, and where's the reward, all right? Again, all this is provided in the decision sheet that I provided, and I want to make sure that you guys understand this, all right? One thing that took, especially for newer folks, that why does your trade thesis work out, but the contract actually loses money? This is how I want to apply this to the actual options trading framework, because this is where most retail traders, they get caught up. And now we can actually have a digger deep into what this looks like. All right. This is the shift. Understand that you're not just buying a contract, you are buying proven prior value at a discount with a pre-mapped destination. All right. That is, listen, if you take anything from today about the decisions, take this part. Screenshot this if you need to. All right. You are not buying a contract. You're buying an asset, right? But it's proven prior value at a discount with a pre-mapped destination. Options, they definitely decay, right? Over time, we understand that. We have theta, right? This even happened very recently. Swung silver, it was looking really good. The silver opened up positive. I was still down on my option, right? We know that's what happens. Happens to every contract every day. And most people see this and they say, okay, that contract dropped from, let's say, $1 to 20 cents, right? So it's a loser, move on, right? What I see is that the market priced it at $1. Let's say it was $1, right? We have evidence that the market has a high potential to pay that price again. And so when the next day market opens, and let's assume we're not in that trade, by the way, right? We're just in a place of available to opportunity, right? Say that next time you're not in the trade and you're just looking everywhere, right? But the market opens, now it's at 20 cents. Your perspective, that's available at an 80% discount, right? So the trade isn't that, will the contract go up? The trade is then, can I get that contract back to where it was already valued while the underlying ticker, that is performing the setup, right? And that could be an LVL setup, that can be a breakout. I'm so excited to show you how this worked out even today. But that's how we apply that to an options contract as well, right? And so you can actually utilize what we just covered with that decision framework specifically and exclusively to an actual contract and see results even from there. All right. You guys following me just a little bit? And so what I'm going to share here is I'm going to share my screen, show you guys how this happened very recently, right? So what we have, let me know if you can see this. Sorry, hold on. I know it just went away. Just want to turn this off for a bit. So what we have here is SPY made a really big move in the trade today, right? We can see that. You can see the price action that SPY just simply moved up, right? And so what happened is, of course, we're getting breaks. How do we confirm this for a decision for us to assess that this is bullish? And let's say that we're going to buy calls. Well, we can establish and mark where those highs and where those lows are, right? That's exactly what we're doing, seeing where those highs, where those lows. And then what we can see is that we have a series of the highs are getting higher and the lows are getting higher too. So what's clear, and especially for those who've been trying to capture the reversal of what's been happening in this really huge market going up, is that when we apply this, if you're trying to catch the reversal down, well, it's not going to fully just happen and be allowed, right? Because the broader context of the market is in an uptrend. And so we can understand that to our advantage, especially today. We can start the market day off. We can see and do things like seeing how did the market start? And if that first 30 minutes, if we're breaking past that, right, we can find maybe an entry on the stock, right? But how do we know which of these options can be super valuable to us to understand that we see real movement? All right. And so one of those common ways is with actually analyzing the options chain and seeing the options as they exist. I'm going to use a bit of a risky example from today, but I want you guys to be able to see this and that we piece this together. All right. And so from what we had and what we could see on the chart was, SPY, of course, again, moving up, doing its thing. One of the components here was that we were able to identify options specifically from an options chain based on their volume and how they were traded. And I want to bring this back to what we were talking about identifying options in the discount, right? So in this top right, I'm able to look at each options chain on the call side and the put side and see what are the areas that are top performing here from these options, especially the ones trading in today's session. One thing that pointed out that was really interesting was about the 750 call there on SPY. We can open up that option directly, and what we can find is quite a bit of information. Just going to take some of these off the screen here for a moment. We're going to do all this manually so that you guys know exactly how to do this, right? So anytime that we're looking, like we mentioned, we're looking to mark the highs and lows of each of these placements, right? If you didn't know that you could do this with the options themselves directly, that's what we're introducing you to. And so essentially, what we had here, as we know from the context, SPY was going up, right? We understand, hey, SPY was going up. It did this thing. That's what we're able to see as opportunity. And that's what, we could understand from how that's going to trade and more. You are not buying a contract. You are buying proven prior value at a discount with a pre-matched destination. All right. So I put that in chat so that you don't forget exactly what we're talking about. When we have a contract like this on SPY, we have Wednesday's price action. That's what we represent by this box. We have a previous low, and we also have previous highs about where this traded from before. Because of this, I'm able to mark exactly what those areas of previous value, previous proven value that we have. That's exactly what we're looking to position and set up for the trade that's actually coming up. All right. And so I'm zooming out just a bit. And so I'm going to press play. And so what happens, right? What happens in a given trading day is that when we establish this area of range that has been previously traded and has proven value, is that now at this given point in the stock, you can see that it's currently trading at 14 cents. If we're able to line this up such that on one side here, I'm going to put on the right, we have SPY, right? And SPY is clearly turning up, right? Especially around this 10:30, 11 a.m. mark. We can line that up for when we're seeing those opportunities. And a lot of times, a lot of people get scared and they don't know, and they hesitate on their decision because they're like, I see the market moving, but what if I'm wrong? This is now how it comes together, right? We understand on the chart, where exactly am I wrong, right? I'm going to be wrong if SPY falls outside of this area that I'm seeing on the chart, right? Looking at that SPY example. But if the trend is worth taking, we identified those higher highs, higher lows, right? But what is the risk and the reward now to make us understand that this trade is worth it? So now, from current levels, we can decide exactly how to make this trade worth it. Because this is from 14 cents, and now this is trading back through that box that we identified there, right? What I described here is that from this entry, we have 28, we have 64, we have 75. We have a strong opportunity. If SPY is moving up, if we have the value and the momentum, we can take this and understand exactly how much money we can make from this given trade. All right. So from this entry of 14 cents, if we have previous highs and we're taking one side of this range and we're ascribing a decision there, I'm wrong if the option is dropping and it just continues to drop, right? If it continues, if we're hitting a low of a previous range and just continues to drop, there's no reversal, right? How we're able to get this and put this in the position where we can actually transition to a full profitable area and knowing how much money we're going to make in advance. And so when this traded into that previous range, that meant it broadened how much profit could be made from this specific decision. All right. So I'm just going to walk through this one more time. Same example, 1500. Our risk reward is to that other side of that range. Our risk is just 4 cents under our entry. And so as long as our reward is much, much greater than our risk, the trade is always worth it. It doesn't matter if we get stopped out. All right. Getting stopped out is part of our decision that we understood was the risk that we're taking alone. But if we're finding and identifying opportunities of these trades as they exist here constantly, and we're able to put ourselves in that placement such that that's available to happen, that's what gives us the further space to be able to achieve that and overall find opportunity within ourselves. And so then this trade ended up not just going 1500, this ended up going as high as, let me just replay it for a moment. Just went a bit fast there. We're going to do this one more time. Not only was it 1500, this went as high, and I'm sort of, ballparking this from 100 contracts, from 15 all the way to 64. That's $4,800 that we could see in advance before we even enter the trade. And when we have these levels marked, that's what enables us to take advantage of this in real time. And so anybody who's asking me what's options optimization, what does it mean to actually find an entry and be specific about it? If I put this on the screen and that we're able to see this in real time, down in this bottom right corner, I knew that this was a 200% possible trade before it even happened, right? And so I have this available both as I'm looking at the daily And look, when we're looking at previous day ranges, and also even greater than that beyond as well, right? And so that's what then happened here, and then translated from this moment as SPY is moving up, we can take advantage and see how much money is going to be made from the option directly and how to be in that position of opportunity as it's happening. Again, when we're looking at this, I'm looking at this time frame over here in the top right corner. Looks like it just went away again. That's fine. Technical difficulties. We're not. We're obviously not. Afraid of those today. But what we're able to find is to be able to see that in every given scenario, right? Another placement where this happened was when we were looking at Mara, right? And so Mara, taking all this away, what we saw as an opportunity today was that Mara had some upside. But how did we know Mara had potential for upside? How we're typically marking our charts is the first step on Sunday or before every trading day, we're marking the swing high, we're marking the swing low, right? And we're looking first the decision, where am I going to be wrong, right? And this is this level, we're trading below this low back here. We're all able to see this low. Price trades through it. Most people take this and they take the break to take puts down. How I'm thinking about it, there's a way better decision to make than just a small trade of just a couple of dollars, right? Because there's an even bigger opportunity if we trade back through this overall range. And that then if we validate the trend, confirming that this is a real reversal, higher highs, higher lows, that then price can go ahead and deliver and get to these previous highs, right? So when Mara opened today, I was able to see from 1294, this had this movement to get to as high as $14, right? And I'm doing, again, all of this manually, but we can have this on autopilot such that finding your next trade opportunity doesn't even have to involve making these decisions every single time, right? So what then we looked at was a Mara contract to confirm what we're seeing. What contract can I even buy as a result of this, right? And so the main thing that we saw, what were we able to accomplish here? Just again, taking away just the things we don't need right now, is that we have full visibility to see what is that previous range, what is that previous value that we're looking at that's proven it exists, and how can we trade now that we recognize the option in a discount, because inflation is high in this economy. So we're looking for discounts for us to trade back through these ranges. All right. So in this example, Mara's down here at 38 cents. I caught it at 47. But I have a full understanding it can get to this 57 or then even as high as that 113. Right? And so from there, that's what gives us so much strength for us to then assess, again, how much money can be made from this trade. Well, I don't even have to draw it this time. This is telling me in this bottom right corner, what if this is optimized for a real opportunity of a trade. And so the first layer is that this can go 50%. That's okay. It could be better, right? And then another layer is just if this range from how high this can go is more than 100%, then that's what makes this trade worth it. And what I can see from the left is that this can trade through this gap. There's all of this price that it can return to. Let me know if this is all making sense, family, so far.
Press 1 if this is making sense in terms of how you're thinking about this. All the charts and the strategy, that's 20%. 20% of what you need to know. You don't even have to get fancy. Don't make all of these decisions in such a way that it's not quality for you. You just know and have to know from your entry to the exit, is that worth it? Is that greater than how much I can risk up here, right? And so from what I could see from this alone, that is where I was able to get the confidence to just push the button and press buy. All right. I ended up going hard. Some people saw my profit, was able to get 12, actually $18,000 with this opportunity. And maybe that was a lot of confidence there. And maybe it's just, oh, you're going way too hard. But I had this confidence because I was able to identify with confidence that this value exists. All I have to do is find my way in and position myself, grab that discount because we're going back to these highs once we are able to confirm that movement, right? If we're trading back through a range, there's such a high probability we're going back and just revisiting the value that was already proven. Because that's what market makers are doing and looking for all the time. All the time. If you've seen the market maker or the market and price movement move into your stop, then leave without you, price action is typically dropping and the options value is getting declined, especially with the theta or any of that movement, and that is getting bought in a discount and getting sent back to those previous levels. All right. And so from this movement, I was losing my mind on the trade, right? Because then we were able to see that this is real. Oh my God, like what? This is real. It's trading through the gap. Oh my God, it's actually happening. And it feels so crazy when you look and take this language of the market and apply a real decision-making decision framework that you align with this each time. And so even I'm shocked. And not every trade is a banger. There's opportunities that aren't there and they don't happen. I've shown my losses. I've shown that this is what can happen as a consequence of probabilities because nothing's guaranteed. But this is exactly the framework that even when I take a losing trade, this positions me and puts me right back in the game and gives me a high quality trade that I know exactly how much I'm going to make before it even happens. That is the power and the real sauce I want to be able to introduce to you guys. And then I just want to talk about a few ways about how we've applied this and how this has gone the ways of actually growing portfolios. Can I do that for you guys? Are you guys still with me? Again, I'm always appreciative of your time. And it's always important for me to make sure that this part actually gets taught. Some people have heard about the LVL, they've heard about options optimization, but this is the real sauce and component for why and what is actually happening underneath the hood. So many of us didn't even know if this was possible. I didn't know if this was possible until they even introduced the ability to even chart contracts. And a lot, on different brokers that's been around for a long time, you know what I'm saying? Like Thinkorswim, a little bit of Webull. But on here, this is when you actually back test this, you'll see how often this happens and it'll surprise and shock you, once you actually see that outcome. And so as of this recording, I want to be very clear and honest with you guys. This exact framework is what enabled me here that in this video I didn't even cover. This is from today, family. This is from today. $6,000 to $43,000 in just this 7 trading day window. All right. I'm telling you what is fully clear and what this allows. Last month, $2,900 to $12,000 by the end of April. By utilizing the same framework where losses happen, you see some of these dips, they're happening and occurring on the chart. But it's such that those losses are so small and that you are controlled on what your risk is, but that when you continuously see and recognize these opportunities of high reward, that's when a huge shift actually can occur that enables you to then just continuously stack up on those opportunities. All right. Does that make sense, everyone? I'm going to let that sit for a moment. And so with these decision frameworks, and Jeremy might be here, we actually just had a short conversation before this all kicked off. One of the things here is that Jeremy started last year, and he was able to grow his portfolio from $500 to $7,000 utilizing this framework. We had a one-on-one. We talked about what I just shared with you about the swing highs and swing lows, because there were a few things that needed to be refined there. It was just something wasn't clicking, right? And he kept learning information, participating in the challenge, doing all of these things. But we had to refine and put specific decisions with every single component. All right. Well, I want to cover a bit quickly here about how this started out. Is that we started here, it was a $500 account. Typically that's my recommended size. So if you guys are wondering how much does it take to be able to attain a certain amount of money per day, I recommend starting small, $500, $1,000, right? I know for not everybody that's $1,000 is a lot of money, right? I'm obviously not undercutting that, but we're not trying to, use our whole savings. But this is part of that seed phase that I told you guys about. And it's all about that first 30 days. So we start, a lot of you are in the same place. We are watching YouTube. You're trying to absorb a lot of information about different strategies and more. And what happens is that some strategies work for different people, not because they're smarter than you, that they're better than you. It's because their schedule is simply different. And these opportunities have to work specifically in your schedule. And so what we have to do is we have to develop a risk model for how we're sizing our trades. And so what was happening there was that sizing was a bit inconsistent. There were a few, loose entries and more. And then also, following other people's trades. How many of you have been at work and let's say you see a trade come from me or someone else, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna get in, but you don't have the time to actually pay attention to that trade, and you get called into a meeting, and then suddenly you're out of the loop. Suddenly you have no more control over what decisions are happening, and then suddenly that clarity is lost. That's a discretionary decay showing up again, right? And so if you don't have a proper risk, press 1 if that was you, by the way. If you don't have the proper risk, if you don't have the conviction behind a trade, you're just like, I'm going to take it. I think, if you're going to hesitate, you're going to lead to those missed entries, that chasing, and then, your account is going to pay for it. So after our one-on-one, after we talked through this and after we, spent some time together, we talked to some other mentors as well. We had to rebuild the risk model as well as that decision framework. And so that's when we did start to work a bit on the LVL, but more so about having clarity on why we're making decisions in a specific way because of how the market itself is structured, right? So we covered liquidity. We covered about marking exactly where you're wrong first, right? Waiting for the reversal and then validating that so that you can find and set the boundaries for how you're in that trade. And so then, how he progressed overall is that he was able to start building his watch list, sharing trades. One thing I want to see from all of you, and this is some of your homework, I want to see you guys share your charts and your ideas and your trades whenever you get that time. I know life is busy, but you have to have something to show and show for it. That is how, you heard of fake it till you make it. Even if you don't feel confident, you're just trying things, get a second opinion and feel and say that this is something I see. I want to see what the outcome is. We'll see. We'll see what the market delivers, right? Because there's no clout in just being right and that, yeah, I had this trade and whatever. There's no shame in, oh my God, like I lost or didn't do it as I expected, right? The market's going to do what it does, right? What's going to matter is what decision did you make when it mattered, when it was happening live? If a trade worked out and you weren't in, what did that matter to you? If the trade didn't work, right? But you were able to handle that situation. You took that data and you made the changes necessary such that tomorrow came another opportunity. How much better are you going to feel that you took that risk? And rather, not just the risk, that you trusted yourself and built that confidence in yourself to move forward, right? And so then that's where, in that 30-day period, we started with that seed phase of understanding what was going wrong, starting to experiment, starting to refine our understanding of these components of our decisions. Then the next phase is the growth phase. And that's where that 30 days actually happen, right? And this isn't the promise of delivery and results because everyone's going to be looking different, especially your risk profile. But it's about how many positions of opportunity that you can confidently put yourself in such that you can make it out on the other side and then plan your week. Plan your week. You can have trade all days, sure, if you want to. Some of you are only available for 2 or 3 days. You plan your week in confidence for how you're going to manage and set your decisions based on that framework. And I want you guys to all go out and test what you know as options and how you're able to develop that skill even further. Because right now, Jeremy was able to reach towards that placement of running his own playbook, right? And I want to make this clear for everyone as well that you're going to have that trajectory that you get to that point. You're going to have progress and there's going to be parts where it declines. But that doesn't mean change your strategy. It means that discretionary decay is creeping in again and that we need to get in front of it before it just it continues to decay and that you have that gradual loss by loss by loss. You guys with me? I have you for a couple more minutes, family. But I really want to make sure that, especially for anyone who missed it, we'll make sure that you get that guide for the decision framework that we just provided here in the session. And I want to make sure that you feel like you're about to attack this market and that you made this and you made that happen. All right. That's what I want to instill within all of you. And so, just generally, that is your homework. Take that document, refine your decision framework, and then go ahead and assess each trading day with that checklist. All right. And so this is just something I want to share. And I just want to be honest. I'm changing how I'm spending my time right now. It's less on the direct signals. Obviously, I'm still trading and going on, but it's more so with working directly with you all. Working directly with you and actual traders who are looking to improve and understand the work that's required to actually get better. Not just sitting on the sidelines, but actually taking this. It's not even about more information. It's about wanting to correct those decisions and improve those habits and install that framework. All right. And so remember what I said, this what's happening here is that this is a placement for what we want to see out of actually implementing these systems and making sure that you are good to go and able to operate this system in real time. All right. And so that is where my focus is being. That's going to be my focus. Working with traders, talking with them directly, and also having sessions where we can come together in a space like this. I saw a lot of your questions there in the chat where we can talk through what are those places and those gaps that you're actually missing and making sure that that is where you're able to actually get the value. And so that is where my time for this next month is coming. And let me tell you why this placement of where we are is critical. Essentially, this is going to be a placement. This is my team. This is where we work with traders oftentimes. But right now, as we're navigating this market, I mentioned in the community, if you were there, June 4th is you have to be ready. You have to be ready by June 4th because that is where the market is lifting all of the brakes off. This is where we're seeing unprecedented volume and an influx of traders who are just ready to attack the market once that pattern day trader limit is taken away. That $25,000 mark is being taken away. And that means that there is way more opportunity for all types of retail traders. But on the other side of that, there's also quite a bit of space that the big players are getting their hands and rubbing their hands together to take advantage of those who are not privy to opportunities like this with capturing options in a discount. And so when I talk about this seed phase, that is where if you need additional help and you are able to take that time, at least 1 hour a day, 4 hours a week, however much you're able to dedicate, that this is the place where we install this framework for decision making. We are able to assess and take a diagnostic on your last 20 trades and understand what's going on. If you've been losing with your trades, we understand what's going on. If you've been winning and losing, and then what's, I don't understand what the place of where I'm staying stuck. That is what we uncover and make sure that this decision framework is always alongside your chart and is customized specifically to your account size, to your schedule, and to your risk. So typically this is about a 90-day cycle, but it's those first 30 days. By the end of it, that's when you will have a facilitated and full playbook, understanding what your framework of your trades, getting actual feedback on what trades you can take and how to adjust this, and so that you can see what's changing and what real progress looks like in that overall process. Oftentimes when we're in this space, that's where we see results just within that first week of just getting rid of all of the baggage that we've been carrying. Some of us have been carrying baggage since 2020, baggage since last year, or even from this past week that we just can't get past. And we need to uncover that so that you can actually move forward. This is exactly what you can do with this decision framework sheet. If whoever's in chat, whoever has it, feel free to drop it in the chat. I want to make sure anyone who joined late, you are able to utilize that sheet. And if not, we'll email it directly to you. But in terms of installing that placement, if all of this is where you feel as though that you are short on time and want to make sure that this is the placement that you are know exactly how to scale this before that June 4th date, and then being able to scale this through the summer when so many retail traders, college students are going to flood the gates, high school students are going to be trading, but they're not going to have that knowledge and information to actually perform. And I feel a bit I feel a bit scared for those who are not going to be available to understand what is going to happen at that given time, because these market makers, and rather the hedge funds, are going to look to take advantage of those who've had the experience but haven't uncovered those specific areas that have been happening. All right. And so exactly what's in here is that you work directly with me as well as our team to understand what's going on, to get a full tracking system of your trades, that you connect your broker, and that you are able to see which of those trades are the killers, not the trades themselves, but the behaviors behind the trades of how they happen, and especially at the given point of when those trades occurred, and that we find the common ground for how to overcome that. All right. And so this is going to be available just for now. This is starting this Sunday. And what I want you guys to understand is that this is the this is the exact way, not that we just take you in and you just sit in the back of the class and you listen and you just walk away. Oh, that was nice to learn. I need to hear from you. If you're not talking, if you're not engaging, this is a point where I'm trying to build the next 10 case studies for next year's webinar, right? I'm trying to build the next 20 to show you that this framework, not just about what I'm applying in my own trading, but that we figure it out specifically for you, that you're able to make that transition and that it's customized such that it doesn't feel like you're just following someone else anymore. You're following your gut and your opportunities. And so within there, that is something that is available here. There's so many components within this, composed of operating those next 30 days, working with our team, getting direct access to me, and navigating how I'm operating that time for building traders, not just trades. I want to build traders. And so the link is in the chat here, specifically for all of you. But what I want to make clear is that the two things that you're getting that no one outside this room gets is that you are going to get the options optimizer 60 days completely on me, because I showed you how operating from a place of identifying an asset that has a discount back to proper proven levels and value. That is exactly what you have to be more prepared in terms of being able to identify and and be in a position of opportunity. So I want you guys to go mark your charts, open up contracts on TradingView, and be able to see these options in real time. See the value, see that more, because what this does is that it surfaces the contracts trading at that discount back to that proven value. Just like we showed with being able to see a 200% trade on SPY before it even happens. And so if you go in, if you use that code here, that's on the screen, I want you guys to have that options optimizer included as your full experience. But that is where you are committing to actually identifying and changing the trading behavior. And if right now, from now until tomorrow at 12, if you post in the Discord that you signed up, I'll put you in a private room with me and other students of accountability where I'll share my full trading blueprint every week with you for the next 30 days. Because I want to tell you exactly how I'm thinking about each week ahead, what I'm watching, how I'm sizing, the decisions I'm making, and the same blueprint those 10K mentees see. Because I want to make sure that this information is able to reach you and not just the open air of those who are just sitting and trading on the side. If time is a factor, we often work with correlating these trades outside of market hours. We have components where we have real chats. We talk about this and we can understand what types of changes that will make to our trading behavior in the next trading day. All right. And so that is available because I want to make more opportunities for you to be able to work directly with me and not just from afar, from just trade alerts. And working with me and our team of qualified mentors who've done this again and again, and we've achieved over $5 million in combined profits. I just want to make sure that that opportunity exists for you right now because time is short. I want to make sure that how we're able to place this gets as many of us ready before that June 4th deadline. After June 4th, I promise you, the market is going to look like 2020 again, or it may look like 2022. No matter what year it looks like, super bullish, super bearish, we have the proper placement for how you fit in and define your specific boundaries on those trades. All right. This is the summer of opportunity. And I want to make sure that you guys are able to get this recording. It's broken up. I'll see what I can do. I'll tie these two sessions together. Or I'll even go ahead if you guys need me to go and run this back again and again. But I want to make sure because this is the last time that I'm able to have this opportunity and be able to cover these sentiments in real time before I really lock in and work directly with all of these students and making sure you're able to get and uncover and make those changes to your behaviors such that you can actually scale. But it all starts with that seed phase and those first 30 days. All right. And so, again, that decision framework sheet, if that's all you need, if the strategy of charting the options contracts is all you need, that's perfect because you have the opportunity now to have the different framework of how to assign the actual value to a contract and understand how options really trade. Because oftentimes we only traded options from the belief that we take a call and the stock goes up, we'll make money. How much? We can type it into, this website, or you can even use Robinhood to know and simulate your returns if it goes there. But how can you make the opportunity to know exactly what option to pick every single time? If anyone sitting here and still on, if you've used this and used the options optimizer regularly, put O in the chat. Let me know if any trades recently. I really want to know how it's been operating for you. If there's still placement there, you need a bit more assistance with how to find these opportunities and what each component of the optimizer even means. That's why I want to work with you even further and also make sure that we're able to clarify these benefits. All right. I want to cover whatever charts and opportunities that you guys may have thought about or asked about. We're definitely in a placement where we're seeing or saw loads of opportunity and things just happen in the market recently. We can look at Coinbase, which is something that was pretty crazy. Feel free to put a ticker in the chat. I just want to be able to give as much value. If you guys still have the time, I'm being very considerate of that for many of you. That when we're looking here, Coinbase was an example where we saw the opportunity in real time, right? And it all starts from just that recognition. Coinbase was one of the biggest opportunities recently. And how we defined it was the same way. We have these placements on the chart. But first, I just want to show you guys what the optimizer looks like. When we're in at the close of the day, sometimes it kind of acts a little funky. But I'm just trying to, again, show you guys and see what it do. We're going to go to auto. We're going to just get a few strikes here. See if we can work out with something here. At the end of the trading day, they like to play a few of these games. So right now, it's happening just a bit of something with loading. I'm just trying to show you guys a real example of something that expires tomorrow. I think it's because there's so many contracts that actually triggered on Coinbase. It's actually really hard to see. And so when we're outside of these hours, you're not always able to see, and that's what's not being able to be demonstrated as it works in real time for anyone who hasn't had exposure to this, right? Is that we have fully on here a specific area to know what contracts are triggering and what are operating in a discount. Again, because we're not able to see, typically what this would show, let me see if I go in replay mode, if I get anything different. No. What this is typically shows is that it shows all those options, how they're trading, what their volume is, and whether they are optimized or not, right? What showed on Coinbase is that all of these were golden, meaning that they were fully optimized and ready to go and return back to previous levels of value. All right. How that translated into a real trade. Okay, I was able to get something here. This is how it typically looks. This is actually next week's contracts. But we had opportunities show up here on the 220, the 225, the 230. And so as Coinbase was trading in, the same scenario where the first decision framework is identifying where we're wrong, then we want to know, are we validating a trend to understand that this is a placement where we can trade if I'm right? And then we set targets for how far this can go. And so then at the end of the day, our trade looks as simple as this. Hey, this can go to 218. But how do we know what we can make the biggest opportunity of a contract? And so one of those contracts was the 220. So I can go to Coinbase. I'll pull up the 220 contract. And then what do we see? We have a placement of we knew exactly how much profit that this can produce before the trade even happens. Because we have the range of this option from back there, from the previous week. And so if a trade starts in a discount all the way back down here, and we see this start to return to these previous highs, Well, from this level, I can understand what's the possible profit here. And that's 100%. Hey, I can go from 85 to 214. That's over 100%. And then this is the risk that I assign to it. If this can trade back through this whole previous week, well, the potential for profit is even greater. That's 318 from just doing it manually. When all of this starts, the tools give us the opportunity to see how much in advance this can happen. But we knew this in advance by just looking at coin. We didn't have to look at the contract to know it was a banger. All we could look at is coin's price action, look at the options optimizer, because it just runs the decision framework and playbook for us on autopilot, right? And so this got back to all of those previous levels that we identified. And that's how we can find, we have another student, her name's Terry, and you guys can read up on how we've broke this down. And essentially, she's able to find 500, 1,000% trades on autopilot. Every single week, I see her in the group just posting another trade that just went 1,000%. One of our challenges she won because she had the biggest percentage gain, where she found a 2,000% trade on IWM. And it was based and built on that decision framework to not overthink the process. If you're able to process all those decisions, what do I enter? What do I exit? What contract do I pick? What stock do I look at? All of these things, then you're in a better position to be confident about your trades. All right. And so, Bronzy, you said the idea is to see the LVO retracement on the stock, use the optimizer to see the contracts, then chart the contract to understand risk to reward. I'm going to give you a reward, Bronzy. Let me know your email. Let me know your email. And I'll make sure that you get that full framework and the entire document that essentially revisits and underscores exactly what you're saying. And the thing is, like we said on SPY, there doesn't always have to be a quote unquote LVL setup, right? But it's just about the framework for how we arrive at these decisions. SPY today didn't have a defined reversal, right? It didn't have a defined reversal point. Those probably happened somewhere way back here, but SPY was already
Oh,
in trend. It was already in trend to allow for this movement. But the contract still showed up regardless, right? The contract still showed up regardless to be optimized. And we saw it on short-term expiration contracts, and there's others that existed, but earlier in today's call, we demonstrated on today's expiration. And it looks like it doesn't even let me go back to see it because now we're we're past the time where it saves the option. It essentially expired worthless now, but we saw it as in real time. This is kind of crazy. Does that make sense, everyone? Does that make sense? Bronzy, thank you. Jen, post in the chat, the hashtag chat. All right. KG, DM me your email. I'll send exactly what that is to you. Some people are fully, you're just wanting to understand what's going on with the Pro and the Max. I want to make sure I'm not taking much of too much anyone's time. That's why I'm just asking, we reach out. We'll let you know exactly how to get on that. The biggest component of all of this is that your solution, I know we talked about some fancy things, but most of today was simply talking about these decisions and ascribing and knowing exactly how much is going to happen. I'm going to tell you in all seriousness, I don't care how special of whatever, let's say something I made or a system or these things that definitely make things help with identifying opportunity. You are never going to get saved by an indicator. You're going to get progress with indicators and fancy things. And I'm saying that to you guys in all honesty, with the love and care for how your trading journey goes. It's not gonna simply just be that. And I'm willing to help and provide and that those resources help you get to where you need to. But I always want to make sure you understand that this is going to come from how you refine your decision making and uncover those components of your trading that are actually breaking. Because I've worked with so many people who've used the LVL system and were unprofitable, right? And we had to find out specifically what's going on. And so I just want to make sure that that component just is very clear, and I'm really, really honest about those things. Does that make sense to you guys? If you have any follow-up questions and things, especially technical things, feel free to open the ticket in our community as well. And one of the things we, my team is never about making anything gate kept. I know and I understand because time is valuable. We're using our time, we're dedicating to actually, put this forward. We have all types of flexible options because we don't want to leave anyone out of that door of getting to actually participating and actually getting the help. We can stretch however need be and also make adjustments based on, where you are. So if you just follow the link, you can have it such that it's just 8 payments of 62 over multiple months, right? You have it such that you have it customizable to whatever your profile is. It's not about how much that we're looking from you and just wanting to take, essentially just, okay, you're in the door, it's a course. We're looking for traders who are very specific about being serious about their trading because they feel like they're almost there. They feel like they're almost there, and it just takes a one adjustment. And because it's just speaking on Jeremy again, Jeremy, if you're here, it was that one point where it was just us going over swing highs and lows in detail and why, as much as I've talked about swing highs and lows so many times, but describing our actual decisions in those moments. And I literally saw his portfolio 10x. From there, I saw him have and gain the confidence to go about it and then put that in drive. And adjustments happen and need to be made along the way. Obviously, you take losses along the way, but that is the component where we're not trying to leave anyone out the door. And we have a lot of flexible opportunities to be able to work directly with our team and make sure that these decision frameworks are installed. So I did want to make sure that was clear. And that none of this placement is to have that. It's just more so making sure that this is a place that you're able to get that access because with my time, with the essentially this date around the corner when the floodgates open of the market, we're just trying to make sure that this is a placement that you can get the intentional work that's actually required to overcome any of those places. And so hopefully that answered that question in the chat. And again, feel free if there's any component or other questions you need to know to make sure that,
Everyone wanted
any of
pizza.
this is a good fit or not. Because again, we're not looking for anyone who's just going to sit in the back of the class and not participate. We're looking for people who have at least 1 hour per week to work through and actually talk through the trades that they've been taking and how to actually navigate that. But all that information, if you need confirmation, if you need more, that's going to be there for you. But again, if you do decide to move forward, if this is something that you want that intentional time with, just make sure to post in the chat, and then we'll open up the chat so that I can start talking to you one-on-one. All right. Uh, because I want to just make sure that we have a dedicated place. We can actually track your information, track the trades that you've been taking, and we then uncover what were those hidden behaviors that were holding you back. And so again, if you post in the chat, I'll open that. I'll throw that in for you for free. If there's any given point you want to during the semester that, hey, you wanted to get in and you didn't do, you weren't able to, we can have a conversation about what next steps are to, have that availability. And then I want to make sure, this is something that you guys are able to find the options optimizer, get what you need, and we're able to overcome this and get through the door. All right. But we're going to have more trainings, more information about options optimization. But this is going to be the biggest component in everything that I teach, regarding this. Yeah, absolutely. If you're already there, just check the Academy chat. We've had off, we have available options there as well. If you've, been through this before, if you're looking to revisit and tap back in, we have a greater focus on decisions and more, but you guys should go down that route. But all this information is going to be sent to you in a follow-up email. All right. You guys, from today, I want to make sure that your decision making is sound, that you spend these next 30 days. I want to see by June 14th that you made the change to actually you made the work to actually refine your decisions. Because if it doesn't happen then, when is it going to happen? Right? If you need to delay that and start at a different period, we're all for that as well, right? This could just be the information you have and keep it in the back of your mind, for when you do use it, because everyone's on a different timeline. And the level of scale and growth we're going to see is all going to be varying based on that timeline and availability. But with the information you guys learned today, go tomorrow. What we're having is a full session, and people who've been with us know about it. Every Friday, listen, take everything you learned and then apply it tomorrow. You guys are going to be shocked. You're going to be shocked why we find 500 and 1,000% trades every Friday. I'm going to just leave it there. I'm just going to leave it there. If you want to know more about that session to actually get some full information and get real gritty with what that looks like and what we look for on those Friday trades, keep a close ear to your emails. Let me know. Send me a message in the Discord if that's something you want to know more about. And then, we'll go from there such that you can get a real impact to see how this applies to find these high quality trades every single time. Ronald, you simply just go through this link on the check. And so at this placement, if you go to reserve seat and you click split it or zip, you get all those opportunities to have customizable places such that you're not left out and that it's customizable to what you want to, what's available to you. So you go there, you go through the process, you click either split it or zip here. Make sense? So all other questions, I'm really glad you guys were able to participate. Definitely reach out, ask the questions in the chat. We have our component of our community where we host these sessions and more high impact sessions just like this one. Thank you guys for joining in. Anybody who was part of our sessions these past few days, thank you guys always. It's going to be a bit light for the next 30 days because it's mostly just going to be me working with traders directly and not really focusing on the trade alert, because where real growth and 500% growth really happens, consistent profits every month really happens, is in the gritty work with actually refining everyone's decisions behind the actual trades. So with that, family, again, thank you guys for all your time. I wanted to make sure that this is the space that we're able to engage. This is a space that we can talk through, and I hope to open that door to you guys again soon. Let me know out of 10 how I did during this session. I'll be very vulnerable or candid for a moment. It definitely, learning is so important to me, and as someone who deals with these learning things that hold you back, it's not something that stops you. I know like how a break in your break in your concentration can kind of break your flow for continuing through a lesson. And so understanding that, I know those types of things were hard with the glitches during the session earlier, but I appreciate you guys' patience. I hope this all connected together. Again, I want to make sure that all of that lands and that you're able to push forward with that so you can navigate this pathway. So that's what I'm going to leave you guys with. You guys have a great rest of your night. I'll see a lot of you on Sunday, or we can start those conversations, those private conversations, as soon as tomorrow. You guys have a great night. Thank you guys. Be blessed. See you soon.